Imagine this. You're in a high-stakes meeting, comfortably listening to the discussion, when suddenly your manager turns to you and asks, "What's your take on this?" Every eye in the room locks onto you. Your heartbeat quickens, your palms get sweaty, and your mind scrambles for the right words. You know the answer, but under pressure, your thoughts seem to vanish. You either blurt out something incoherent or freeze completely. Sound familiar? Or picture yourself at a social event. Someone cracks a witty joke, and the whole group erupts into laughter. You think of the perfect comeback, but 3 minutes too late. By the time you finally gather your thoughts, the conversation has already moved on, leaving you frustrated and wishing you could react faster. Situations like these happen to all of us. Whether it's in professional settings, social gatherings, or even casual conversations, the ability to think quickly and articulate our thoughts clearly can make the difference between being seen as confident and capable or hesitant and unsure. Yet for many, spontaneous speaking feels like an insurmountable challenge. We freeze, overanalyze, or simply can't find the right words in time. But what if you could train yourself to respond with clarity, confidence, and precision, no matter the situation? Matt Abrahams is a leading expert in communication, an educator, and a sought-after coach specializing in helping people overcome anxiety and develop effective speaking skills. He is a lecturer at Stanford University's Graduate School of Business, where he teaches strategic communication and public speaking. With years of experience coaching executives, entrepreneurs, and students, he has helped countless individuals master the art of impromptu speaking. As the host of the popular podcast Think Fast, Talk Smart, Abrahams has explored the science and strategies behind effective communication. His work blends insights from psychology, neuroscience, and real-world experience to provide practical tools that help people communicate more effectively, especially when put on the spot. He firmly believes that anyone can develop the skill of spontaneous speaking, and this book is a testament to that belief. Why this book matters. Public speaking is often considered one of the most nerve-wracking experiences, but what most people don't realize is that the majority of communication happens in unplanned moments. While rehearsed speeches and presentations are important, real influence comes from how we handle unscripted situations. Whether it's answering unexpected questions in a meeting, navigating tough conversations, or making small talk that leaves a lasting impression, the ability to think quickly and speak effectively is a skill that can open doors and set you apart from the crowd. Unfortunately, many of us struggle with this skill. Our brains freeze under pressure, our nerves take over, and we either speak too much without making a clear point or hesitate so long that we miss our chance to contribute. The fear of saying the wrong thing often leads us to say nothing at all. But what if there was a way to overcome these challenges? What if you could train your brain to stay calm, think faster, and express yourself clearly, even in high-pressure situations? That's exactly what this book aims to help you achieve. Think Faster, Talk Smarter is not about memorizing perfect responses or delivering rehearsed speeches. Instead, it's about developing a set of mental tools that allow you to organize your thoughts quickly and communicate them effectively in any situation. What you'll learn in this book. In the audiobook ahead, you will discover a science-backed, practical approach to mastering spontaneous speaking. This book is structured around key techniques that will help you understand the science of quick thinking, learn why your brain freezes under pressure and how to rewire it to stay calm and focused, master simple frameworks for spontaneous speaking, develop practical techniques to structure your thoughts and deliver clear, compelling responses on the spot. Build unshakable confidence, transform nervous energy into powerful communication that commands attention. Handle difficult questions with ease, learn how to respond smoothly and persuasively, even when faced with challenging or unexpected queries. Practice real-world scenarios. Train your mind with exercises and strategies designed to improve your quick thinking abilities over time. This book is for anyone who wants to become a more confident and effective communicator, whether you're a business professional, an entrepreneur, a student, or someone who simply wants to be more articulate in everyday conversations. The tools and strategies outlined here will empower you to handle any speaking situation with clarity, confidence, and composure. One of the biggest misconceptions about communication is that some people are just naturally gifted speakers. We look at politicians, CEOs, and charismatic leaders and assume that their ability to think and speak eloquently is an inborn talent. But the truth is, great speakers aren't born, they're trained. Even the most successful public figures and skilled conversationalists rely on preparation, mental frameworks, and practice techniques to appear effortless in their delivery. They have learned how to manage anxiety, organize their thoughts quickly, and present their ideas in a way that engages their audience. The difference between them and most people is not talent, it's training. The good news? You can train yourself too. By applying the methods in this audiobook, you'll gain the tools to speak confidently and persuasively, even when you don't have time to prepare. Whether it's a job interview, an impromptu speech, or an unexpected conversation with a senior executive, you'll no longer dread being put on the spot. Instead, you'll welcome the challenge and use it as an opportunity to shine. Effective communication is one of the most valuable skills you can develop, and the ability to think and speak spontaneously is at the heart of it. The techniques you'll learn in this book are not theoretical. They are practical, tested, and designed to be implemented immediately. As you read, you'll find actionable exercises to help you rewire your brain for faster thinking and more effective speaking. The more you practice, the more natural and effortless your communication will become. Soon, you'll find yourself responding to unexpected questions with clarity, handling tough conversations with confidence, and engaging in conversations with ease. So, are you ready to transform the way you communicate? Are you ready to leave behind hesitation, self-doubt, and missed opportunities? If so, let's get started on this journey together. The ability to think faster and talk smarter is not just a skill, it's a superpower. And by the end of this audiobook, it will be yours. Chapter 1. The Fear That Freezes Us. Imagine this. You're standing in a crowded room. All eyes are on you. People are waiting, expecting, hanging on the silence before your words. Your heart pounds, your throat goes dry, and just when you need them the most, your thoughts vanish into thin air. Ever been there? It's like stepping onto a stage under a blinding spotlight, only to forget your lines completely. You know what you want to say, but your mind refuses to cooperate. Instead of delivering a sharp, confident response, you freeze. Why does this happen? Why do we go blank in the moments that matter most? The silent force that holds you back. The answer is simple. Fear. Not just any fear, but the deep, paralyzing kind. The fear of judgment, of looking foolish, of saying the wrong thing. It's an invisible force that keeps us from speaking up, making us second-guess ourselves until the moment slips away. But here's the truth. Everyone experiences this. Even the most charismatic speakers, the quick-witted debaters, and the smoothest conversationalists have felt the sting of panic. The difference? They don't let fear silence them. They've learned to harness it, to redirect that nervous energy into sharper focus, clearer thinking, and stronger delivery. Why your brain betrays you. Our brains are wired to protect us. When faced with an unexpected question, a tough conversation, or a high-stakes moment, our fight or flight response kicks in. Adrenaline surges, our pulse races, and since there's no actual danger to fight or run from, our mind does the next best thing. It shuts down. But here's where things get interesting. That same surge of adrenaline, the thing that makes you freeze, can also be your greatest asset. The key is learning how to recognize it, control it, and turn fear into fuel. The secret of quick thinkers. If you've ever wondered why some people seem naturally quick on their feet, here's the secret. They're not fearless, they're trained. They've conditioned their minds to stay sharp under pressure, turning panic into performance. They don't let fear dictate their response. Instead, They use it as a trigger to focus, adapt, and respond with confidence. Now, imagine if you could do the same. Imagine standing in that crowded room, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline. But instead of freezing, you fire back with clarity, certainty, and control. That's exactly what this book will teach you. Not how to eliminate fear, but how to leverage it, because the ability to think faster and talk smarter doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from mastering the moment, and that journey starts now. Chapter 2. The Art of Buying Time Speed. Isn't everything? Strategy is. Let's be real, the sharpest comebacks and most brilliant responses aren't always the fastest. Yet, in a world that celebrates speed, we feel this constant pressure to reply instantly. Think about it. Quick-witted jokes get the loudest laughs, fast answers get the most attention, and if you hesitate for even a second, it can feel like you're losing ground. But here's the twist. The smartest people don't rush, they buy time. And they do it so smoothly that no one even notices. Pausing isn't a sign of uncertainty, it's a strategy. The power of the pause. Imagine you're in a high-stakes meeting and someone throws a tough question your way. Most people either panic and fumble through an answer or blurt out the first thought that pops into their head. But those who think faster and talk smarter, they take a beat. A brief intentional pause. That tiny moment, just a breath, allows their mind to catch up, sift through ideas, and frame a response that is clear, structured, and impactful. Instead of rushing to fill the silence, they own it. And here's the secret. Silence is a weapon. Used correctly, it makes you appear thoughtful, composed, and in control. It signals confidence, not hesitation. It tells people that when you speak, your words matter. How to buy time like a pro. So how do you master this skill without looking like you're stalling? Try these simple but powerful techniques. 1. Reframe or repeat the question. One of the easiest ways to buy time is to restate or reframe the question before answering. This does two things. It gives you an extra few seconds to gather your thoughts. It shows you're genuinely considering the question instead of just reacting. For example, if someone asks, "How would you handle a crisis like this?" Instead of rushing into an answer, you can say, "That's a great question. Handling crises requires both quick thinking and a calm approach." By the time you finish this sentence, your brain has already started structuring a more solid response. 2. Use humor to reset the moment. Ever noticed how people sometimes deflect a tough question with a light-hearted remark? A well-placed joke doesn't just entertain, it buys you time. For example, if someone asks you something tricky, you can laugh and say, "Wow, that's a $1 million question." Or, "So you're testing my wisdom today, huh?" This does two things. It eases the pressure, making the conversation feel lighter. It gives your brain a split second to organize a response. Smart humor isn't about being funny, it's about taking control. 3. Slow down. Without losing momentum. People who think fast don't necessarily speak fast. They know how to stretch seconds into minutes without making it obvious. They use intentional pauses, controlled pacing, and strategic phrasing to keep the conversation flowing on their terms. The next time you're caught off guard, don't rush. Take a breath. Reframe the question. Drop a light comment. Let your mind catch up before your mouth does. Because the best speakers aren't always the quickest. They're the most strategic. Chapter 3. The Power of Precision. Ever notice how the most persuasive speakers aren't the ones who talk the most, but the ones who speak with precision? They capture attention in just a few words while others ramble endlessly. The secret to impactful communication isn't in saying more, it's in saying exactly what matters. In a world overflowing with noise, precision is power. When someone delivers a sharp, confident statement, it cuts through the clutter. But when we use weak, hesitant words like maybe, probably, or I think, we dilute our impact. Precision in speech isn't just about sounding confident, it's about being confident. The best communicators don't waste words, They use them like darts, sharp, purposeful, and effective. So how do you train yourself to think fast while keeping your words precise and powerful? It starts with trimming the unnecessary. Before responding, ask yourself, what's my core message? What's the most direct way to say it? Instead of saying, I kind of think that maybe this could work, say, I believe this will work because the difference is clear. Directness doesn't mean being harsh, it means being clear. And clarity is magnetic. Another key to precision is speaking with purpose. Every response should have a clear intent. Are you informing, persuading, challenging, or connecting? When you know your purpose, your words naturally align with it. If a conversation drifts off track, bring it back with a light touch. Humor works wonders. As much as I love a good tangent, let's circle back. This keeps the conversation focused without making it feel forced. Listening is another powerful tool. Most people listen just to reply, not to understand. When you truly listen, your responses become sharper, more relevant, and more impactful. Instead of mentally rehearsing your response while the other person is talking, absorb their words. Then take a brief pause. Remember the power of the pause from Chapter 2. Process their message and respond thoughtfully. This makes you sound more intelligent and earns you greater respect in conversations. Mastering the power of precision is a game changer. It makes you memorable, not because you talk the loudest, but because you speak with intention. And here's the irony. Thinking faster often means talking slower. A well-placed pause, a carefully chosen word, these make your statements land like punches, not glances. So the next time you speak, cut the fluff, stay focused, and make every word count. Chapter 4. Reading the Room. The secret to social intelligence. Have you ever said something in a conversation only to be met with awkward silence? Maybe you cracked a joke that fell flat, or you tried to contribute, but no one responded. That sinking feeling afterward, it's rough, right? The ability to think fast and speak smartly isn't just about quick wit, it's about understanding your environment, the unspoken dynamics, the silent signals, the energy in the room. It's like having a social radar that helps you know when to jump in, when to hold back, and when to pivot. Picture yourself in a group where the conversation is tense, maybe a heated debate at work. A lot is being said out loud, but even more is being communicated through glances, crossed arms, and uncomfortable pauses. Someone who can think fast and talk smart picks up on these cues. They instinctively adjust their tone, their approach, and even their words to match the mood of the room. They know that stepping in too forcefully could escalate the tension, while speaking too timidly might make them fade into the background. One of the most effective ways to read a room is to become an observer before a participant. Notice body language. Are people relaxed or stiff? Are they leaning in, genuinely engaged, or leaning back, looking for an exit? Do they react quickly to each other's words? Or are there long, uncomfortable pauses? The way people position themselves, their facial expressions, their energy levels, these all tell you what's really happening beneath the surface. Once you grasp the atmosphere, you can adjust your approach. Sometimes, breaking the tension with a light-hearted comment or subtly shifting the topic can reset the entire mood, making you the person who just gets it. But here's the challenge: the fear of misreading the room and saying the wrong thing. To navigate this, start with curiosity instead of assumption. If you're unsure, ask open-ended questions that invite engagement. Instead of guessing what people are feeling, try something like, "Seems like there's a lot on everyone's mind. What's the main concern here?" This simple shift in approach does two things. It shows you're listening and creates a bridge instead of a barrier. When you master the art of reading a room, you become that person, the one who seamlessly blends into any environment, adapts to any conversation, and leaves a lasting impact. Chapter 5. The Confidence-Competence Loop. Mastering the Cycle of Success. Confidence and competence. The ultimate duo that can either propel us forward or hold us back. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you hesitated to speak, and the longer you waited, the more you doubted yourself. It's like a spiral that pulls you deeper into uncertainty. On the other hand, have you noticed how people seem to listen more when someone speaks with confidence, even if their words aren't perfect? There's a reason for that. It's called the confidence-competence loop, a self-reinforcing cycle that can either empower you or keep you stuck in hesitation. At its core, the confidence-competence loop works like this. When we express our thoughts with confidence, even if imperfectly, people tend to respond positively. They listen, engage, and often respect what we say. This validation reinforces our sense of competence, making us feel more capable. And the more competent we feel, the more confidently we speak in the future. It's a cycle that builds on itself, each success feeding into the next. But here's the tricky part. This loop works in both directions. When we doubt ourselves, hesitate, or stay silent out of fear, we reinforce the negative narrative that we're not capable. The more we avoid speaking up, the weaker our belief in our abilities becomes, creating a downward spiral of self-doubt. This is why some people struggle with communication, even when they have valuable insights. Their fear of speaking reinforces their lack of confidence, keeping them trapped in a cycle of hesitation. So, how do you break free from this negative cycle and step into the positive confidence-competence loop? The answer lies in action, not overthinking. The key is to speak up, even when you don't feel fully ready. It's not about waiting until you have the perfect words. It's about building the habit of contributing, even if your voice shakes. When you share your ideas, even in their raw or unfinished form, you send a signal to yourself and others that your thoughts matter. The goal isn't to be right all the time. It's to be present and engaged in the conversation. One powerful way to boost both confidence and competence is through preparation. Many people struggle to think quickly under pressure because they haven't anticipated what might be asked of them. If you often find yourself freezing in important discussions, take time to prepare in advance. Think about common questions, discussion points, or challenges that may arise in your personal and professional life. Have a few flexible responses ready that can work in different situations. For example, if you're caught off guard by a question, you can use a phrase like, "That's a perspective I hadn't considered. Could you elaborate?" This gives you time to process the question while showing that you're engaged. Another go-to response could be, "I see what you're saying, but here's another angle to think about." These aren't rigid scripts, but mental tools to help you regain control of the conversation. Another essential factor in mastering the confidence-competence loop is exposure and repetition. Confidence doesn't come from thinking about speaking. It comes from actually speaking. The more you engage in conversations, the more comfortable you become. Start small, speak up in casual discussions, contribute in meetings, or practice articulating your thoughts in low-pressure settings. Over time, you'll notice a shift. The hesitation will lessen, your ability to respond quickly will improve, and speaking up will start to feel natural. There's also a psychological trick to hacking the confidence-competence loop. Act as if you're already confident. Studies in psychology show that our body language and tone of voice influence our mindset. If you adopt a posture of confidence, standing tall, making eye contact, and speaking with a steady tone, your brain starts to align with this behavior. It's the classic fake it till you make it approach, but with a twist. By acting confident repeatedly, you actually train yourself to be confident. Another crucial element is reframing failure. Many people avoid speaking up because they fear saying something wrong. But here's the reality: even the most eloquent speakers make mistakes. The difference is, they don't let mistakes define them. Instead of seeing a verbal slip-up as proof of incompetence, view it as a stepping stone to improvement. Every time you stumble, you gain insight into how to communicate better next time. Failure isn't a roadblock, it's part of the learning process. Think of confidence and competence as muscles. The more you use them, the stronger they get. You wouldn't expect to lift heavy weights on your first day at the gym, right? The same principle applies to speaking with confidence. Start with small victories, answering a question in a group, sharing an idea in a meeting, or even practicing speaking out loud when you're alone. Each success, no matter how small, strengthens the confidence-competence loop. Over time, you'll realize that confidence is not about being flawless. It's about trusting yourself despite imperfections. The goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty, but to navigate through it. Some of the most influential communicators in history weren't perfect speakers. They simply believed in what they were saying and embraced the learning process. So the next time you find yourself hesitating, remember this. Confidence grows through action, not waiting. The more you engage, the sharper your thinking becomes, and the quicker you'll speak up. Soon, you'll find that the confidence-competence loop is a tool you control, not a trap that controls you. Chapter 6. Humor as a Weapon. The smartest tool in communication. Have you ever noticed how a well-placed joke can instantly change the mood in a room? Whether it's breaking awkward silence, diffusing tension, or lightening up a heavy conversation, humor is an incredibly powerful tool. The sharpest and quickest thinkers often use humor not just to entertain, but to navigate complex interactions. Humor can disarm defensiveness, shift focus, and most importantly, buy you valuable time to think. It's like a secret weapon that allows you to regain control of a conversation while making people more receptive to what you're about to say. But here's the reality. Not all humor works. Used correctly, humor can make you seem more charismatic, confident, and in control. Used incorrectly, it can backfire, leaving people uncomfortable, offended, or disengaged. The key to using humor effectively isn't about delivering the perfect joke. It's about timing, relevance, and delivery. You don't need to be a stand-up comedian to make people laugh. The goal isn't to entertain, it's to connect, redirect, and enhance your ability to communicate under pressure. Think about a time when a conversation got heated, perhaps a disagreement at work or a tense debate among friends. You've probably seen someone skillfully lighten the mood with a clever or well-timed comment, instantly diffusing the tension. Imagine you're in a meeting where a colleague is overly critical of an idea. Instead of getting defensive, you say with a smile, "Whoa, should I start taking notes on this roast session?" Suddenly the energy in the room shifts. People laugh, the aggressiveness softens, and you've successfully reset the dynamic, all without directly confronting the person. That's the power of humor in action. Using humor to think faster and speak smarter. One of the most underrated benefits of humor is how it buys you time to think. When caught off guard, most people either freeze or blurt out the first thing that comes to mind, often regretting it later. But those who master humor have a buffer, a way to stall without appearing uncertain. A quick-witted comment, a playful exaggeration, or a light-hearted remark allows you to gather your thoughts while maintaining control of the conversation. For example, let's say you're asked a tough question in a meeting, and you need a few extra seconds to form your response. Instead of panicking, you smile and say, "Wow, that's $1 million question. Do I get a bonus if I answer it correctly?" The room chuckles, and in that small window of time, you've given yourself a chance to organize your thoughts. This technique is often used by politicians, CEOs, and public speakers. When faced with unexpected or difficult questions, they don't rush to respond. Instead, they use humor as a strategic pause, allowing them to craft a well-thought-out reply rather than reacting impulsively. Self-deprecating humor, the confidence booster. Another powerful aspect of humor is self-deprecation, the ability to laugh at yourself. When used correctly, self-deprecating humor is a sign of confidence, not weakness. It shows that you're secure enough to acknowledge your flaws without feeling threatened. This type of humor makes you more relatable and likable, as people naturally connect with those who don't take themselves too seriously. For instance, imagine you're giving a presentation and you momentarily lose your train of thought. Instead of panicking, you chuckle and say, "Well, there goes my brain taking a coffee break. Hopefully, it comes back soon." The audience laughs, the tension eases, and you regain control of the moment. People appreciate authenticity, and humor that comes from genuine self-awareness can turn potentially embarrassing situations into memorable moments of charm. However, there's a balance to self-deprecating humor. If overused, it can make you seem insecure rather than confident. The trick is to laugh at your mistakes but not belittle yourself. A good rule of thumb is to use humor in a way that keeps the mood light but still reinforces your credibility. If you make a small mistake during a speech, joking about it is fine, but constantly putting yourself down, saying things like, "I'm terrible at this," or "I don't know why anyone listens to me," can have the opposite effect, making people question your confidence and abilities. Avoiding the pitfalls of humor. While humor is a powerful tool, it's important to know its limits. Misused humor can create tension instead of relieving it, and the wrong joke at the wrong time can damage relationships, credibility, or even your reputation. Here are a few humor pitfalls to avoid. 1. Mean-spirited or sarcastic jokes. While sarcasm can be funny among friends, it can easily be misunderstood in professional or unfamiliar settings. If your humor comes at someone else's expense, it might get a laugh, but it also creates subtle resentment. Instead of building a connection, it drives a wedge between you and the people around you. 2. Humor that doesn't match the moment. Just because humor is useful doesn't mean every situation calls for it. In serious or highly emotional moments, humor can seem insensitive or dismissive. A good communicator knows when to use humor and when to hold back. 3. Overcomplicating humor. Some people think they need to tell a long-winded joke or have perfect comedic timing to be funny. In reality, simple, natural humor works best. A light comment, a playful exaggeration, or a well-timed observation is often more effective than a rehearsed joke. Developing your humor skills. If you're someone who feels like you're not funny, don't worry. Humor isn't a talent you're born with. It's a skill you develop. Being humorous doesn't mean being the loudest or funniest person in the room. It's about being observant, knowing how to read the room, and using light-hearted moments to navigate conversations with ease. Here's how you can develop your humor skills. 1. Start small. You don't have to make people burst into laughter immediately. Begin with light comments or playful observations in everyday conversations. If you hear someone say they're exhausted, you might joke, "Welcome to the club. We have coffee and complaints every morning." 2. Observe how others use humor. Pay attention to how quick-witted people use humor in conversations. Notice their timing, tone, and delivery. The more you observe, the more you'll learn to integrate humor into your own communication style. 3. Use humor to connect, not impress. The best humor is inclusive. It brings people together rather than setting them apart. Instead of trying to be the funniest person in the room, focus on using humor to create a comfortable atmosphere and strengthen relationships. 4. Embrace playfulness. Humor often comes from seeing the world in a playful way. Allow yourself to notice the irony, absurdity, and quirks of everyday life. The more you practice looking at situations through a humorous lens, the easier it becomes to incorporate humor naturally. Humor as a superpower. At the end of the day, humor is more than just making people laugh. It's a tool for influence, connection, and quick thinking. It allows you to think faster, speak smarter, and navigate conversations with ease. Whether you're facing criticism, handling unexpected questions, or simply trying to make a lasting impression, humor gives you the edge. And the best part, you don't have to be a natural comedian to use humor effectively. You just need to be willing to see the lighter side of life, embrace playfulness, and practice using humor as a tool rather than a performance. So the next time you find yourself in a high-pressure situation, remember the power of humor. A well-placed comment, a self-aware joke, or a playful remark can turn awkwardness into confidence, tension into connection, and uncertainty into control. Because when you learn to use humor wisely, you're not just talking smarter, you're commanding the room with ease, confidence, and charm. Chapter 7. The Power of Pausing. Mastering the art of silence. Silence can be intimidating, can't it? Those moments when the conversation slows down and the world seems to hold its breath, waiting for you to say something profound. For many, these pauses feel unbearable, like an awkward void that must be filled immediately. But what if I told you that pausing isn't a weakness? It's a power move. If you observe the most compelling speakers, you'll notice something remarkable. They don't rush. They don't fill every second with words. Instead, they take their time. They pause. And when they finally speak, their words land with impact. Pausing gives you control, not just over your words, but over the entire conversation, your nerves, and even the way others perceive you. Why? We fear silence. From a young age, many of us are conditioned to believe that silence in conversation is a bad thing. We fear awkward gaps, assuming they signal discomfort or uncertainty. In meetings, interviews, or even casual discussions, there's an impulse to speak quickly, as if speed equals intelligence. The problem? When we rush, our words lose their weight. We become reactive instead of intentional, saying things just to fill the silence rather than crafting thoughtful responses. Consider a situation where you're asked a tough question during a high-stakes meeting. Your instinct might be to jump in immediately, scrambling to put together an answer before you've even fully processed the question. But what if, instead, you took a breath? What if you allowed yourself a moment of silence before responding? That pause doesn't make you look unprepared. It makes you look thoughtful, confident, and composed. The psychology behind. Pausing is more than just a speaking technique. It's a psychological tool. Silence creates anticipation. When you pause, people lean in, eager to hear what you'll say next. Think about the most powerful public speakers, Barack Obama, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey. What do they all have in common? They use silence strategically. Their pauses aren't accidental. They are deliberate. They understand that a well-timed pause commands attention. Here's why pausing works so effectively. 1. It signals confidence. When you pause, you show that you're in control. Nervous people rush to fill every gap. Confident people own the silence. 2. It gives you time to think. Instead of blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, pausing allows you to process, organize, and refine your thoughts before speaking. 3. It makes you more persuasive. Studies show that people trust speakers who pause more often. When you speak too quickly, your words blur together. But when you pause, each statement lands with greater clarity and impact. 4. It commands respect. Ever noticed how people hush when a leader pauses before speaking? Silence is powerful. It forces people to pay attention. Turning pauses into a strength. Now that we understand the power of pausing, the question is, how do you integrate it into your communication style without making it feel forced or awkward? 1. Use pauses to regain control. Imagine you're in a heated discussion and emotions are running high. It's tempting to respond immediately, to jump into the fray with a counterpoint. But reacting without thinking often escalates the situation rather than resolving it. Instead, pause. Take a breath. Gather your thoughts before you reply. This moment of stillness not only helps you respond more wisely, but also diffuses tension. It signals that you're not reacting emotionally, but rather considering your words carefully. A simple trick is to use a verbal cushion before your pause. If someone asks you a tough question, try saying, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a second." This accomplishes 2 things. 1. It buys you time to gather your response without appearing hesitant. 2. It reassures the listener that you're engaged and thoughtful rather than caught off guard. 2. Pauses make you sound more authoritative. Think about a speaker who talks too fast, barely stopping for breath. What impression does that create? Most of the time they sound anxious or uncertain, like they're rushing through their words because they don't believe they deserve your attention. Now think about someone who speaks slowly and deliberately, with pauses between key points. They exude confidence. Their words feel important. People listen more closely because the silence between their sentences creates a sense of weight and intention. If you want to command respect, practice slowing down. Let your words breathe. Let them sink in. Instead of rushing to the next sentence, allow a natural pause to create emphasis. 3. Pausing prevents filler words. One of the biggest signs of nervousness is the overuse of filler words. Like, you know. These words sneak in when we're afraid of silence. We use them to fill gaps, thinking they make us sound more natural. But in reality, filler words weaken your speech. They make you sound less certain, less polished, and less persuasive. The best way to eliminate them: replace filler words with pauses. Instead of saying, I think that, we should probably go with option B, say, I think we should go with option B. Notice how the second version sounds stronger and more confident. The difference is simple. Instead of using a filler word, you pause. 4. The art of the dramatic pause. Pauses don't just make you sound more thoughtful and composed, they can also be used strategically for dramatic effect. Think about comedians, storytellers, and motivational speakers. They often use the dramatic pause right before delivering the punchline or main takeaway. For example, if you're telling a story about overcoming failure, you might say, "At that moment, I felt like giving up. I thought to myself, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this is where my journey ends." Pause. But then I realized something. That pause builds tension. It creates curiosity. It forces your audience to hang on your every word. How to practice pausing in everyday conversations. If pausing feels unnatural at first, don't worry. It takes practice. Here are some simple ways to build the habit of using pauses effectively. Record yourself speaking. Play it back and notice where you rush. Then, practice adding pauses for emphasis. Watch great speakers. Study how TED Talk speakers, news anchors, and leaders use silence to enhance their message. Try the 1-second rule. Before responding to a question, pause for 1 full second. It might feel long, but to your audience, it will feel completely natural. Use intentional breathing. If you feel the urge to rush, take a deep breath before speaking. This automatically slows you down. Owning the silence. At the end of the day, pausing is a sign of strength, not hesitation. It's a tool that separates reactive communicators from intentional, powerful speakers. When you embrace silence, you take control, not just of your words, but of the entire conversation. So the next time you find yourself in a high-pressure moment, remember this: pausing doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look wise. Own the silence. Let your words carry weight. Because when you master the art of the pause, you don't just think faster, you speak smarter, with clarity, confidence, and undeniable presence. Chapter 8. Handling high-pressure situations. Thriving under stress. We've all experienced those moments, the kind where all eyes are on us, expectations are sky-high, and suddenly our mind goes blank. Maybe it's during a job interview, an important presentation, or a crucial debate where someone challenges our perspective in front of an audience. The pressure in these moments can feel overwhelming, like a crushing weight that scatters our thoughts like startled birds. But here's the truth that can change the game. Pressure doesn't create weakness. It reveals what you've trained for. It is not an enemy to be feared, but a test that exposes your preparation, resilience, and ability to adapt under stress. Instead of letting pressure paralyze you, you can learn to harness it as a source of strength. Understanding the nature of pressure. Why do high-pressure situations feel so intense? It's not just about the task at hand. It's about the fear of judgment, failure, and embarrassment. The idea of making a mistake, looking foolish, or not meeting expectations can override our ability to think clearly and respond effectively. However, the first step to mastering pressure is to redefine what it means. Instead of seeing it as something that works against you, recognize that pressure is a signal, a sign that something important is happening. It means that this moment matters and your body is gearing up to meet the challenge. The surge of adrenaline, the rapid heartbeat, and the heightened senses aren't signs of panic. They are signs that your body is preparing to perform at its peak. The key is to control how you interpret that energy. Instead of thinking, "I can't mess this up," shift your mindset to, "This is my chance to show what I know." This small but powerful reframe shifts your focus from avoiding failure to seeking opportunity. Instead of being consumed by fear, you become motivated by possibility. How to stay composed under pressure. Managing high-pressure situations isn't about eliminating stress. It's about responding to it effectively. Here are some powerful strategies to help you stay in control when the heat is on. 1. Reframe your mindset. See pressure as an opportunity. Your mind plays a significant role in how you experience pressure. When faced with a challenge, most people default to negative thinking. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I look stupid? What if I fail in front of everyone? These thoughts trigger self-doubt, making it harder to think clearly. But what if you flipped the script? What if, instead of seeing pressure as a threat, you saw it as an opportunity? Try replacing those thoughts with, "This is my moment to prove myself. I've prepared for this and I'm ready. Even if I don't have the perfect response, I can still handle this with confidence." Your perception of pressure shapes your response. When you frame it as a challenge you can rise to rather than a disaster waiting to happen, you empower yourself to stay calm and perform effectively. 2. Control your breathing. The power of a deep breath. When pressure hits, your body reacts, your heart pounds, your muscles tense, and your breath becomes shallow. This fight-or-flight response makes it harder to think clearly. But there's a simple way to regain control. Breathe. Taking a deep, slow breath signals to your brain that you are not in danger. It calms your nervous system, slows your heart rate, and allows you to regain focus. Try this quick technique. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat 2 to 3 times. This grounding exercise can instantly reduce anxiety and bring you back to a state of control. 3. Simplify your response. Aim for clarity, not perfection. One of the biggest mistakes people make under pressure is striving for the perfect answer. This can lead to overthinking, causing your mind to freeze. Instead of aiming for perfection, focus on clarity. When faced with a difficult question or challenge, don't feel pressured to deliver an elaborate response. Start simple. If you feel stuck, use this reset technique. 1. Restate the question to buy time. Example: if someone challenges your idea, instead of panicking, say, "That's an interesting perspective. You're asking if..." Then repeat their question. This gives you a few extra seconds to gather your thoughts while showing that you're actively engaged. 2. Stick to a clear, structured response. Don't ramble. Use a simple framework. Acknowledge then, state your main point, and now the time to give a short explanation. Example: I see your point. However, I believe that, after it explain main point, and then say because, and explain it briefly. By keeping your response concise and structured, you avoid overloading your brain with unnecessary complexity. 4. Use physical grounding techniques. When anxiety spikes, you can physically ground yourself to stay present. Try these techniques. Press your feet firmly into the floor. This stabilizes your body. Hold on to an object, like a pen or a piece of jewelry. This can help you anchor your focus. Roll your shoulders back and take a deep breath. This opens up your posture and gives you a sense of control. 5. Accept imperfection. Mistakes are normal. Even the most experienced speakers and leaders make mistakes. The difference? They recover quickly instead of dwelling on them. If you stumble over words, lose track of your thoughts, or need a moment to regroup, don't panic. Simply acknowledge it and move forward. For example, let me rephrase that. That didn't come out the way I intended. Let me clarify. Give me a moment to collect my thoughts. These small phrases show that you're human, not robotic, and they actually increase your credibility. People appreciate authenticity over perfection. 6. Visualize success before the moment arrives. Top athletes, public speakers, and performers all use visualization techniques to prepare for high-pressure moments. Before your big event, whether it's a speech, an interview, or a debate, close your eyes and picture yourself handling it with confidence. Imagine walking into the room with a calm, controlled demeanor, speaking clearly and assertively, handling questions with ease and composure. Visualization prepares your mind for success, reducing the fear of the unknown. Pressure is a tool, not a threat. Handling high-pressure situations isn't about eliminating nerves. It's about training yourself to perform despite them. The goal isn't to be flawless, it's to be resilient. By reframing pressure, controlling your breath, simplifying your response, using grounding techniques, and accepting imperfection, you can transform pressure into a tool that sharpens your performance. So the next time you find yourself in a high-stakes moment, don't fear the pressure, embrace it. Let it bring out the best in you, not the worst. Because when you learn to thrive under pressure, you don't just think faster, you speak smarter, act sharper, and stand stronger in any situation. Chapter 9. Active listening for better responses. The art of truly hearing. Have you ever been in a conversation where you suddenly realized that you weren't really listening? Instead of focusing on what the other person was saying, your mind was busy crafting your own response, waiting for the right moment to jump in. We've all been guilty of this, especially when we're feeling anxious or eager to sound insightful and articulate. But here's the truth. The key to thinking quickly and responding intelligently isn't about speaking faster, it's about listening better. Active listening is the secret weapon of sharp thinkers and smooth communicators. It's not just about hearing words, it's about understanding the intent, emotion, and context behind those words. When you fully engage in listening, you absorb nuances, patterns, and cues that most people miss. These subtle signals help you craft responses that feel natural, thoughtful, and deeply relevant. Most people think fast talkers are naturally quick-witted, but the real secret is that they're great listeners. They don't just react to words, they respond to meanings, emotions, and hidden concerns. If you can master active listening, your ability to speak with impact and confidence will skyrocket. What is active listening? Active listening isn't just a passive act of hearing, it's a deliberate and focused effort to truly understand the speaker. It means being fully present instead of mentally rehearsing what you'll say next. When you genuinely listen, you notice the speaker's tone and energy. Are they excited, nervous, frustrated? The underlying message. Are they asking for advice, seeking validation, or simply venting? Their choice of words. What words do they repeat? Do they use emotional language or factual statements? By tuning into these elements, you can craft responses that feel more natural, empathetic, and impactful. Active listening isn't just useful in deep discussions, it's a game changer in quick interactions too. When someone throws a question at you, your ability to focus entirely on their words will help you respond with precision and confidence. Why most people fail to listen actively. The biggest obstacle to active listening is our own thoughts. When someone speaks, we often think about our response instead of listening. Try to predict what they're going to say next. Get distracted by external noises or internal stress. Rush to fill the silence instead of pausing to absorb the message. The irony is that by trying to think faster, we actually miss key information, which makes our responses weaker. But here's the good news. Active listening is a skill that can be developed. The more you practice, the sharper your thinking and speaking will become. How to master active listening. 1. Shift your focus. Listen for intent, not just words. Instead of mentally crafting your response while someone is talking, train yourself to focus on their intent. Ask yourself, what is this person really trying to express? Are they seeking advice, validation, or just an outlet to be heard? What emotions are behind their words? When you listen at this deeper level, your responses become more insightful and empathetic. People will notice that you're not just hearing them, you're understanding them. And when people feel understood, they connect with you on a deeper level. 2. Mirror key words and phrases. One of the simplest ways to show that you're truly listening, and to buy yourself extra time to think, is to mirror some of the speaker's words. For example, if someone says, "I'm really struggling with this new project. It's more complicated than I expected." Instead of immediately jumping in with advice, start by reflecting their concern. "I hear you. New projects can feel overwhelming. What's been the toughest part so far?" This does 3 powerful things. 1, it shows that you're paying attention. 2, it makes the other person feel validated. 3, it naturally guides the conversation deeper, giving you more time to think. Mirroring works because it keeps the conversation flowing smoothly while reinforcing a sense of connection. 3. Stay fully present. Don't mentally check out. If you catch yourself drifting off, bring yourself back into the conversation by using these techniques. Maintain eye contact, but not in an intense or forced way. Nod occasionally to show engagement. Mentally summarize what the person is saying in real time. Adjust your body language to show you're actively involved. Staying present doesn't just help the speaker feel heard, it helps you absorb more information, making your responses sharper. 4. Take quick notes if necessary. One common fear people have is forgetting their own thoughts while listening. If this happens to you, try this simple trick. Keep a small notebook or use your phone to jot down a keyword or two while listening. This allows you to stay focused on the speaker while preserving your thoughts for later. You don't need to write full sentences, just keywords that trigger your memory. This technique is especially useful in meetings, debates, or brainstorming sessions. Practice the pause before responding rule. A great way to improve your listening and response quality is to add a 1-second pause before replying. This does 2 things. 1, it stops you from rushing into an automatic or shallow response. 2, it gives your brain an extra moment to process what was just said. That short pause can mean the difference between a generic response and a truly thoughtful reply. 6. Use clarifying questions to buy time and show interest. If someone asks you a challenging question and you need a moment to think, use clarifying questions to gain extra seconds while also making the conversation richer. For example, "That's an interesting question. Can you elaborate on what you mean?" "I see where you're coming from. Just so I answer clearly, are you asking about X or Y?" Before I respond, I want to make sure I understand correctly. Are you saying that? These simple phrases serve 2 powerful purposes. 1, they give you time to structure your response. 2, they show that you care about truly understanding the question before answering. 7, end conversations with a thoughtful summary. A great way to leave a lasting impression is to briefly summarize the key takeaway from a conversation before wrapping up. For example, "So it sounds like your biggest challenge right now is balancing your workload with tight deadlines. That makes total sense. Have you considered suggestion? I really appreciate this conversation. If I'm understanding correctly, your main concern is so on, so did I get that right?" Summarizing helps us ensure clarity, reinforce key points, make the other person feel truly unheard, the hidden. Benefit active listening makes you more memorable. When you truly listen, people feel valued, and that makes you unforgettable. We live in a world where most conversations are rushed, shallow, and transactional. When you stand out as someone who genuinely listens, people are drawn to you. They'll respect your insights, trust your judgment, and seek your perspective more often. Final thoughts. Listening as a superpower. Most people think quick thinking comes from speaking fast. In reality, it comes from listening deeply. The more you tune in to what's being said, the easier it becomes to craft thoughtful, impactful responses. Active listening isn't just a communication skill, it's a superpower. It helps you think faster, respond smarter, and connect on a deeper level. So next time you find yourself in a conversation, resist the urge to think ahead. Instead, slow down, truly listen, and watch how much sharper and more memorable your responses become. Chapter 10. Thinking on your feet, mastering quick and confident responses. Imagine standing in a room filled with people when suddenly all eyes are on you. Maybe someone just threw a tough question your way, or you've been unexpectedly asked to share your thoughts. Your mind starts racing, your palms get sweaty, and the silence feels overwhelming. What do you say? How do you respond without sounding unsure or unprepared? Thinking on your feet isn't just about having a quick wit, it's a skill that anyone can develop with the right approach. The secret lies in staying present, composed, and focused under pressure. Most of us panic in these situations because we fear making mistakes, looking foolish, or not having the perfect answer. But here's an important reality. Even the most eloquent speakers struggle with unexpected moments. The difference between those who freeze up and those who navigate the situation smoothly is practice and mindset. Why do we struggle to think fast? When we're caught off guard, our brain reacts as if we're in danger. This triggers the fight or flight response, making it harder to think clearly. The fear of judgment or saying the wrong thing can cause us to freeze, ramble, or blurt out something unpolished. But what if you could train your brain to handle these moments with confidence? Just like a muscle, your ability to think quickly can be strengthened. The key is to slow down internally, organize your thoughts, and deliver responses with clarity and ease. Techniques to think fast and speak confidently. 1. Use the 3-second rule to gather your thoughts. One of the simplest and most powerful techniques to think faster under pressure is the 3-second rule. Here's how it works. Before responding, take a short, deliberate pause for about 3 seconds. Why does this work? It gives your brain time to process the question or situation. It prevents knee-jerk reactions that might not be well thought out. It allows you to breathe and compose yourself, which naturally reduces anxiety. It makes you appear more thoughtful and confident rather than rushed or flustered. To others, those 3 seconds are barely noticeable, but for you, it's a crucial moment to center yourself and choose your words wisely. Try it next time you're in a conversation. Pause, take a breath, and then speak with intention. 2. Have a mental go-to framework for responses. When faced with an unexpected question or challenge, having a structured response method can make all the difference. One effective technique is the PREP method. Point, start with a clear, direct answer. Reason, explain why you believe that. Example, provide a quick example to support your point. Point, again, reinforce your original idea to wrap it up. For example, if someone asks, "Why do you think creativity is essential in the workplace?" Instead of struggling to form a response, you can use the PREP method. Point, creativity is essential in the workplace because it drives innovation. Reason, without fresh ideas, businesses become stagnant and fail to adapt. Example, think of companies that resisted technological change. Many of them didn't survive. Point, again. That's why fostering creativity is crucial for long-term growth and success. This simple yet powerful framework keeps your response structured, confident, and engaging, even when you're caught off guard. 3. Embrace the power of reframing pressure. Most people see high-pressure situations as threats, but what if you saw them as opportunities instead? Instead of thinking, "I can't mess this up," try reframing it as, "This is my chance to show what I know." This subtle shift in perspective changes fear into motivation. It reminds you that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present, engaged, and willing to respond thoughtfully. Pressure doesn't create weakness. It reveals what you've trained for. And every time you practice thinking on your feet, you get better at it. 4. Use fillers wisely to buy time. When faced with a tricky question, many people panic and rush their response. Instead, buy yourself time with strategic fillers. That's an interesting point. Let me think about that for a second. That's a great question. Here's what comes to mind. I see where you're coming from. Here's my perspective on that. These simple phrases do two things. 1. They give your brain an extra few seconds to think. 2. They make you sound more composed and thoughtful. The key is to use fillers naturally and sparingly. Don't rely on them too much, but when used correctly, they can be a lifesaver in high-pressure moments. 5. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate your answer. A common mistake when thinking on your feet is trying to say too much. Under pressure, people often over-explain or go off on tangents. Instead, keep your response clear and concise. If you're unsure about something, it's okay to admit it. "I don't have a definitive answer on that, but here's what I do know." That's an area I'd love to explore more, but based on what I've seen. Honesty paired with clarity makes you sound more credible. People respect those who can acknowledge uncertainty while still contributing valuable insights. 6. Practice thinking out loud. One of the best ways to sharpen your ability to respond quickly is to practice thinking out loud. Try this. Pick a random topic and challenge yourself to speak about it for 1 minute without stopping. Use the PrEP method to structure your response. Record yourself and listen back. Notice where you pause, hesitate, or repeat yourself. Doing this regularly trains your brain to organize thoughts faster and speak with clarity under pressure. 7. Accept that imperfection is part of the process. The fear of messing up or sounding foolish is what stops most people from thinking on their feet. But the truth is, even the best speakers make mistakes. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for confidence and adaptability. If you stumble, own it, laugh it off, and move forward. Quick thinking isn't about flawless delivery. It's about genuine, composed communication. People don't remember small mistakes. They remember how you handled the situation. Final thoughts. Thinking fast is a skill, not a talent. Many believe that quick thinking is an inborn ability, but in reality, it's a skill you can develop with practice. The more you train your mind to stay present, structured, and adaptable, the easier it becomes to speak confidently in any situation. Next time you're caught off guard, pause, breathe, and trust yourself. With the right mindset and techniques, you can turn pressure into opportunity and respond with clarity, poise, and confidence. Chapter 11. Breaking the fear of speaking up. Finding your voice with confidence. Have you ever been in a meeting, a class, or a casual discussion where a thought popped into your mind, but you hesitated to share it? Then, a few moments later, someone else voiced the same idea, and suddenly, the group responded with enthusiasm and appreciation. That sinking feeling of, "I should have said that," can be incredibly frustrating. The fear of speaking up is something many people struggle with, often without even realizing it. It doesn't stem from a lack of intelligence or good ideas, but from the fear of judgment. We worry that our words might be dismissed, that we'll be misunderstood, or worse, that we'll embarrass ourselves in front of others. However, the reality is far less intimidating than we imagine. Most people are so focused on their own insecurities and concerns that they rarely judge us as harshly as we think. Once you recognize this, it becomes much easier to challenge your hesitation and start contributing your thoughts and ideas more freely. Why do we fear speaking up? The fear of speaking up is deeply rooted in social conditioning. From childhood, many of us are subtly taught to speak only when spoken to, or to avoid making mistakes in public. Over time, these messages shape our belief that if we don't have something perfect to say, it's better to stay silent. Additionally, our brains are wired to avoid risk. Speaking up, especially in a group, can feel like stepping into the unknown. What if my idea isn't well received? What if I say something wrong? These thoughts trigger a fear response, making it difficult to push past hesitation. However, the truth is, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. If you wait to feel completely confident before speaking, you'll miss countless opportunities. Instead, the key to overcoming this fear is to focus on courage rather than confidence. Confidence is the result. Courage is the choice. Many people believe that confidence is something you need before you can speak up. But in reality, confidence isn't the starting point. It's the result of consistent action. The real key is choosing courage first. Think about it. Confidence comes after experience. Courage is what allows you to take the first step despite fear. When you hesitate to speak, ask yourself, am I waiting to feel confident before I speak? What if I acted with courage instead of waiting? By shifting your mindset, you begin to see that courage is always available to you, even when confidence isn't. Reframing fear from self-doubt to contribution. A powerful way to break free from the fear of speaking up is to change your focus. Instead of worrying about how you'll be perceived, shift your attention to the value of what you have to say. Instead of thinking, what if I embarrass myself? Try, what if my perspective helps someone? This simple mindset shift makes a massive difference. When you stop focusing on self-protection and start thinking about contributing to the conversation, speaking up feels far less intimidating. Practical strategies to speak up with confidence. 1. Start with low-stakes situations. If speaking up feels overwhelming, start in situations where the stakes are minimal.
Practice in everyday conversations, casual discussions, or team meetings where there's little pressure. For example, share your opinion in a group chat, ask a question in a small meeting, give a quick comment in a casual group discussion. The more you normalize speaking up, the more natural it becomes. Over time, your brain learns that nothing bad happens when you speak, and this rewires your confidence. 2. Use the "what's the worst that can happen" mindset. Often, we build up speaking in our minds as something terrifying, but take a step back and realistically ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen if I speak up? Will I lose my job? Will people actually mock me? Or will I just feel a little awkward for a moment? In most cases, the worst outcome is temporary discomfort. And here's the secret. People forget small mistakes quickly. What they remember more is the courage you showed in speaking up. 3. Use small wins to build momentum. Instead of aiming for a big, bold statement, start with small contributions. Nod and agree with someone else's point. Ask a clarifying question. Can you explain that further? Make a brief comment. That's a great point. I never thought about it that way. Each small win builds your confidence, making it easier to speak more freely over time. 4. Prepare simple opening lines. One of the hardest parts of speaking up is getting started. A simple trick is to have a go-to opening phrase that helps you jump into conversations smoothly. Some examples: I have a thought on that. Building on what person said. That's interesting. I see it a little differently. Having a pre-planned opening removes hesitation and helps you jump into discussions with ease. 5. Reframe Mistakes as learning opportunities. No one speaks perfectly all the time. Even the best public speakers stumble over words or say things awkwardly. The difference? They don't let it stop them. Instead of thinking, I messed up, I should never speak again. Think, that didn't go perfectly, but I learned something for next time. Every time you push past hesitation, you train yourself to handle discomfort better. 6. Recognize that your voice matters. A major reason people don't speak up is that they undervalue their own ideas. But here's the truth. Your thoughts, opinions, and experiences are just as valid as anyone else's. When you stay silent, you miss opportunities to inspire others with your perspective, challenge ideas, and create meaningful discussions. Grow in confidence by sharing what's on your mind. You don't have to be the most knowledgeable person in the room to contribute. Sometimes, a simple comment or question can shift an entire conversation in a new direction. Final thoughts. Progress over perfection. Breaking the fear of speaking up isn't about suddenly becoming a flawless speaker. It's about choosing progress over perfection. Start small, speak in low-pressure settings, reframe fear, focus on contribution, not self-protection. Challenge your hesitation, ask, what's the worst that can happen? Practice courage. Confidence will follow. Your voice is important. Your ideas matter. The only way to get better at speaking up is to start speaking up. It won't always be perfect, but with every step, you'll find your confidence growing stronger. Chapter 12. Navigating conflicts. Gracefully. Mastering the art of resolution conflict. Just hearing the word can trigger a wave of unease. It's something most people would rather avoid, yet it's an inevitable part of life. Whether it's a workplace disagreement, a misunderstanding with a friend, or tension within the family, conflicts arise whenever perspectives clash. Many people approach conflict in one of two ways. 1. Avoidance. They fear confrontation and choose to stay silent, bottling up frustration or resentment. 2. Defensiveness. They see conflict as a battle that must be won, responding with aggression or sharp words. But what if there was a better way? What if conflicts didn't have to be draining or destructive, but instead became opportunities for understanding, growth, and stronger relationships? The key to handling conflicts with grace isn't about proving who is right or wrong. It's about mastering emotional intelligence, effective communication, and perspective-taking. The biggest mistake people make in conflict. Most conflicts spiral out of control because people focus more on reacting than understanding. When someone confronts us, our instinct is often to defend ourselves, immediately deny their point of view, prove them wrong, react emotionally. But here's the thing, reacting without thinking fuels conflict, while responding thoughtfully diffuses it. Instead of engaging in verbal combat, what if you could transform the conflict into a meaningful conversation? Let's explore how. The first step, managing your emotions. Before you can navigate a conflict effectively, you need to gain control over your emotions. A heated argument often triggers a fight-or-flight response, making it hard to think clearly. When emotions rise, your ability to listen declines, and your responses become impulsive rather than intentional. To prevent this, practice these steps. 1. Pause before reacting. When you feel yourself getting frustrated or defensive, take a brief pause before responding. Even a few seconds can make a difference. You can. Take a slow, deep breath to regain composure. Repeat the other person's words in your mind to stay focused on their message, not your emotions. Remind yourself, my goal is resolution, not reaction. 2. Acknowledge your triggers. Some conflicts trigger strong reactions based on past experiences. If certain words or topics set you off, it helps to identify those triggers beforehand. Ask yourself, why does this situation make me so upset? Am I reacting to the present moment? Or is an old wound being reopened? What's my real fear in this conflict? Self-awareness helps you separate emotions from facts, allowing for a calmer, more productive conversation. The art of listening in conflict resolution. Most conflicts escalate because people don't feel heard or understood. When someone expresses frustration, they're not just arguing a point. They want validation that their feelings and perspective matter. If you can provide that, you can instantly diffuse much of the tension. 1. Listen to understand, not to respond. Instead of mentally preparing your defense, focus entirely on what the other person is saying. Try this technique. Maintain eye contact and use non-verbal affirmations, like nodding. Repeat key points back to them, so you're saying you feel unheard when decisions are made without your input. Avoid interrupting or dismissing their concerns, even if you disagree. When people feel truly heard, they become more open to listening in return. 2. Validate their perspective. Without conceding. You don't have to agree with someone to acknowledge their emotions. Validating someone's feelings makes them less defensive and more willing to engage in a rational conversation. Instead of saying, "That's not true," try, "I understand why you feel that way." Instead of saying, "You're overreacting," try, "I see that this is really important to you. This doesn't mean you're admitting fault. It simply shows that you respect their emotions." Shifting the energy from conflict to collaboration. Once emotions are acknowledged and diffused, you can shift the conversation from a battle to a collaboration. The best way to do this? Ask thoughtful questions. 1. Turn conflict into curiosity. Instead of making statements that escalate conflict, ask questions that encourage deeper discussion. For example, instead of, "You always blame me," try, "What do you think I could do differently?" Instead of, "That's unfair," try, "What outcome would feel fair to you?" Curiosity shifts the dynamic. Instead of attacking, you're exploring solutions together. 2. Keep the focus on resolution, not blame. When conflicts get stuck in blame, they rarely lead to solutions. Instead of dwelling on who's at fault, shift the focus to how to move forward. Try using solution-based phrases. What do you think is a fair way to resolve this? How can we prevent this issue in the future? What can we both do differently? This approach fosters cooperation instead of resistance. When emotions run too high, taking a break. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, emotions take over the conversation. If voices are rising and tension is escalating, it's okay to pause and revisit the discussion later. How to do it gracefully. "I want to have this conversation, but I think we both need a break to clear our heads. Can we pause and come back to this with a fresh perspective?" A short break prevents the conflict from turning into a heated argument that both parties regret. Key takeaways. Handling conflicts with confidence control. Your initial reaction. Pause, breathe, and don't react impulsively. Listen to understand. Focus on their words, not just your response. Validate emotions. Acknowledge their feelings without conceding your point. Ask curious questions. Shift from defensiveness to discussion. Focus on solutions. Move from blame to problem solving. Know when to pause. If emotions escalate, step away and revisit later. Final thoughts. Conflict as an opportunity for growth. Conflict doesn't have to be destructive. In fact, when handled correctly, it can strengthen relationships, deepen understanding, and improve communication. By approaching disagreements with emotional intelligence, patience, and a willingness to listen, you transform conflicts from something to fear into something to navigate with confidence. And remember, it's not about who wins the argument, but how both sides move forward together. Chapter 13. The Power of Silence. Mastering the art of impactful pause. In a world that rewards fast responses and quick thinking, silence is often seen as a weakness. Many of us feel an almost instinctive urge to fill every quiet moment with words, fearing that a pause makes us appear uncertain, unprepared, or unintelligent. We equate silence with discomfort, an awkward gap that needs to be bridged immediately. But what if silence is actually a hidden superpower? What if, instead of rushing to respond, you could harness silence to command attention, amplify your presence, and influence conversations? Consider this. You're in a high-stakes discussion and emotions are running high. People are talking over each other, trying to make their point heard. Suddenly, you decide to pause. You take a breath, maintain eye contact, and allow silence to settle. The energy in the room shifts instantly. The noise dies down, people lean in. They start paying attention, not because you said something loud, but because you used the power of nothingness to create impact. Silence isn't just about saying less, it's about saying things with greater weight. Let's explore how you can turn silence from something you fear into something you master. Why we fear silence. For most people, silence in conversation feels unnatural. We are conditioned to believe that if we aren't constantly speaking, we're losing control of the interaction. Think about awkward pauses in job interviews, silence during an argument, a quiet moment after you ask someone an important question. In each of these scenarios, we feel a sense of urgency to fill the space. We fear that silence makes us look weak, hesitant, or incapable. But the truth is, strategic silence is a sign of intelligence, emotional control, and confidence. It allows you to process your thoughts before responding, encourage deeper conversation, command respect and attention, influence the outcome of discussions. When you learn to embrace silence, you gain an edge over those who rush to speak without thinking. The different types of silence. Not all silence is the same. Some silence weakens your position, while other forms of silence strengthen it. 1. The silence of fear, weak. This is when you remain silent because you're afraid to speak up. It comes from self-doubt, insecurity, or fear of judgment. Example, you have an idea in a meeting but don't say it because you're worried it's not good enough. Solution. Shift your mindset from fear-based silence to confidence-based silence. 2. The silence of thoughtfulness, strong. This is when you pause before responding to collect your thoughts. It signals that you're carefully considering your words instead of reacting impulsively. Example, someone challenges your idea and instead of jumping in defensively, you take a moment to pause, think, and then respond with clarity. Impact. This type of silence makes your words more intentional and powerful. 3. The silence of power, strongest. This is when you use silence deliberately to shift the dynamic of a conversation. It forces others to lean in, pay attention, and reconsider their stance. Example, in negotiations, when the other party presents an offer, staying silent instead of immediately responding creates pressure on them to justify or improve their offer. Impact. This type of silence makes you appear in control, composed, and authoritative. How to use silence as a tool for impact. 1. Silence to command attention. In high-energy conversations, everyone fights to be heard. The louder the discussion, the more people try to out-talk each other. But silence breaks the pattern. Example, imagine you're in a heated debate and people are aggressively pushing their opinions. Instead of shouting over them, you pause, look around and stay silent for a moment. What happens? The room gets quieter. People become aware of your presence. When you do speak, your words carry more weight. Key takeaway. Silence can be a microphone, making your words stand out in a sea of noise. 2. Silence to gain the upper hand in conversations. People fear silence in discussions, especially when they're making a point. If you allow a pause after someone speaks, they may feel compelled to fill the gap with additional information. How to use this in negotiations or debates. When someone makes an offer or suggestion, pause instead of responding immediately. This silence creates psychological pressure, prompting the other person to adjust or justify their position. More often than not, they'll offer a better deal or reveal more information.
Example, boss, I can give you a 5% raise. You pause, make eye contact, and say nothing. Boss, or maybe we can reconsider in 6 months. Key takeaway: the more comfortable you are with silence, the more control you have over conversations. 3. Silence to show confidence. When someone challenges you or asks a difficult question, most people panic and try to answer instantly. But a confident person pauses before responding. Why? It shows you're not rattled or defensive. It gives the impression that you're carefully considering your answer. It makes your eventual response sound more intentional and persuasive. For example, interviewer: why do you think you deserve this job over the other candidates? Candidate 1 immediately starts rambling. Candidate 2 pauses, takes a breath, then speaks. Who sounds more confident? Candidate 2. Key takeaway: rushed speech signals insecurity, while silence signals self-assurance. 4. Silence to encourage deeper conversations. When you ask someone a question, resist the urge to fill the silence. People often need a moment to process their thoughts. If you wait, they will naturally open up and share more. Example, you. What's been the biggest challenge for you recently? Them pauses. You remains silent, nods encouragingly. Them, actually, there's something I haven't talked about before. Key takeaway: sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Final thoughts: silence as a superpower. In a world obsessed with fast responses and constant noise, silence is an underrated tool of influence. It's not just about pausing between words. It's about strategically using silence to enhance presence, confidence, and impact. Here's what you need to remember: silence is not weakness, it's strength. Pausing before speaking makes you sound more intelligent. In negotiations, silence can pressure the other person to reveal more. When used intentionally, silence makes your words more powerful. So the next time you feel the urge to fill the silence with unnecessary words, pause, breathe, let the quiet work for you. Because true confidence isn't about talking more, it's about knowing when to say less. Chapter 14. The Silent Language: Mastering Nonverbal Communication. We often believe that words hold the key to persuasion, connection, and influence. We spend hours crafting the perfect sentences, rehearsing speeches, or thinking of the most impactful way to express ourselves. But what if I told you that the most powerful form of communication often happens without saying a single word? Think back to a moment when someone just looked at you and you instantly understood what they meant, whether it was disapproval, encouragement, or surprise. No words were exchanged, yet the message was clear and undeniable. That's the hidden power of nonverbal communication. Your body language, facial expressions, posture, and gestures silently speak volumes, often revealing more than the words you choose to say. In fact, studies suggest that over 70% of communication is nonverbal. So while we put so much pressure on the perfect words, our unspoken signals are shaping conversations in ways we often don't realize. Yet the challenge is this: most of us are unaware of what our body is communicating. You might be speaking with confidence, but if your arms are tightly crossed or your gaze is unsteady, you're sending mixed signals. Your words may be saying, "I'm open and confident," but your body might be whispering, "I feel nervous and defensive." If you want to become a better communicator, a faster thinker, and a more influential speaker, it's time to unlock the power of nonverbal communication. Why nonverbal communication matters. Imagine you're in a job interview. You've prepared well, and your answers are perfectly structured, but as you speak, you avoid direct eye contact, fidget with your hands, slouch in your seat. Even if your words are strong, your body is telling a different story, one of uncertainty, insecurity, or discomfort. Now imagine the opposite. You maintain steady eye contact. You sit With a confident, open posture, your gestures align naturally with your words. Without changing a single word, your presence transforms. You now exude confidence, trustworthiness, and competence. This is the magic of nonverbal communication. It isn't just about making you look confident. It actually helps you think and respond more effectively. When your body is aligned with your message, your mind follows suit, allowing you to speak more clearly, react more quickly, and connect more deeply. The silent signals. You're sending, without even realizing it. Every movement, posture, and expression you make sends a message, whether you mean to or not. Here are the key nonverbal cues to be mindful of. 1. Eye contact. The window to connection eye contact is one of the strongest indicators of confidence, sincerity, and engagement. Too little eye contact? You may appear nervous, uninterested, or even dishonest. Too much eye contact? It can feel intimidating or aggressive. The right balance? Holding eye contact naturally for a few seconds, then breaking it momentarily before re-engaging. Pro tip: when speaking in a group, shift your gaze smoothly between people. This makes everyone feel included. 2. Posture. The silent indicator of confidence. The way you hold yourself says a lot about your mindset and emotions. Slouching or hunching over. You may appear insecure or unprepared. Sitting upright with shoulders back, you instantly look more confident and engaged. Leaning slightly forward, this signals interest and attentiveness in a conversation. Pro tip: if you ever feel nervous before speaking, plant your feet firmly on the ground and stand tall. This triggers a subconscious confidence boost. 3. Gestures. The unspoken words. Your hands play a crucial role in amplifying your message. Open gestures, such as showing your palms, indicate honesty and warmth. Overly rapid gestures can make you look nervous or erratic. Tightly crossed arms can signal defensiveness or closed-mindedness. Pro tip: when making a key point, use a slow, deliberate gesture. It reinforces your message and makes it more memorable. 4. Facial expressions. Your emotions on display. Your face instantly conveys emotions, even when you're unaware of it. A furrowed brow might make you seem worried or skeptical, even if you're just concentrating. A genuine smile creates instant warmth and trust. Tightly pressed lips may suggest disapproval or hesitation. Pro tip: practice delivering the same sentence with different facial expressions in front of a mirror. You'll see how much expression shapes meaning. Using nonverbal communication to your advantage. Mastering nonverbal cues isn't just about sending the right signals, it's also about reading others effectively. 1. Observe. Before you respond. When entering a conversation, take a quick moment to observe the other person's posture, facial expressions, and gestures. Are they relaxed or tense? Are they making eye contact or avoiding it? Is their body turned toward you or away from you? This tells you a lot about their emotions before they even speak. 2. Mirror and match, but subtly. People are naturally drawn to those who subtly mirror their energy. This builds rapport and trust. If someone speaks calmly and softly, match their tone and pace. If they use expressive gestures, incorporate some of your own. Pro tip: don't overdo it. Mirroring should feel natural, not forced. 3. Use silence to strengthen your presence. Pausing before responding shows confidence and gives your nonverbal cues more weight. Instead of rushing to answer, take a brief pause, maintain eye contact, and then respond. This makes your words feel more deliberate and impactful. Pro tip: next time someone asks you a question, take a slow breath before answering. You'll instantly appear more composed and thoughtful. How nonverbal communication helps you think faster. At first glance, you might wonder, how does improving body language help me think faster? Here's how. When you align your body language with your words,
Your brain processes information more efficiently. A confident posture reduces nervousness, allowing your mind to focus on quick thinking. Reading others' body language gives you insights before they even speak, helping you predict and prepare faster. In short, mastering non-verbal communication makes you not only a better speaker, but also a sharper thinker. Final thoughts. The power of speaking. Without words, words are powerful, but the way you deliver them matters just as much, if not more. If you truly want to think faster, communicate smarter, and leave a lasting impression, focus on holding confident eye contact, using open, purposeful gestures, maintaining a strong, composed posture, observing and adapting to others' body language. Remember, communication isn't just about what you say, it's about how you make people feel. And sometimes, the most powerful message is the one you don't even speak. Chapter 15. Handling difficult people with intelligence and grace. We all know that one person who seems impossible to deal with. The colleague who criticizes everything, the friend who always plays the victim, or the family member who never listens. These individuals can drain our energy, test our patience, and trigger our insecurities. But here's the harsh truth. Difficult people are a part of life. No matter where you go, at work, in friendships, or even within your family, you'll encounter individuals who challenge your peace. The real question isn't how to avoid them, but how to handle them with grace, intelligence, and control. Most people respond to difficult personalities in one of two ways. They avoid them completely, which isn't always possible. They get emotionally triggered and react, which only escalates the situation. But there's a third, smarter way, a way that allows you to stay calm, maintain control, and protect your peace while dealing with even the most frustrating individuals. Let's explore how. Understanding difficult people. It's not about you. The first step in handling difficult people is understanding that their behavior is more about them than it is about you. A critical person may be projecting their own insecurities. A controlling person might be battling deep-seated fears. A constantly negative person may feel stuck in their own struggles. This doesn't mean you should tolerate bad behavior, but it does mean that you shouldn't take it personally. Imagine a co-worker constantly undermining your ideas in meetings. Instead of immediately getting defensive, step back and analyze the situation. Are they insecure about their own position? Do they feel the need to prove themselves? Often, difficult behavior is a reflection of internal struggles, not a direct attack on you. Pro tip. When someone acts out, remind yourself, this is their issue, not mine. This simple mental shift can prevent you from reacting emotionally and help you respond strategically. Tactical approaches to handling difficult people. Once you recognize that difficult behavior isn't about you, the next step is to navigate these situations with intelligence and composure. Here are proven techniques to manage difficult personalities without losing your cool. 1. Shift from conflict to curiosity. Difficult people expect resistance. They're used to arguments, defensiveness, or avoidance. But what happens when instead of pushing back, you lean in with curiosity? If someone constantly criticizes your work, instead of getting defensive, ask, "Can you help me understand your perspective? What specifically do you think could be improved?" By asking thoughtful questions, you turn criticism into collaboration. It forces the other person to be specific instead of vague, and often it softens their approach. Why it works? It disarms them because they expect conflict, not curiosity. It forces clarity, making them either give constructive feedback or realize their criticism isn't valid. It keeps you in control, shifting the focus from a personal attack to problem solving. 2. Set clear, firm boundaries. Difficult people often push limits because they feel they can. If you don't set clear boundaries, they will continue to take advantage of your patience. Here's how to do it effectively. If someone interrupts you constantly, say calmly but firmly, "I'd like to finish my thought before you respond."
If a family member always brings up personal topics you don't want to discuss, set a boundary. I'd rather not talk about that. Let's focus on something else. If a friend always complains and drains your energy, limit your engagement. I understand you're going through a lot, but I can't always have these conversations. Let's talk about something uplifting. Why it works. Boundaries teach people how to treat you. When you respect yourself, others are more likely to respect you. You don't need to be aggressive, just clear and consistent. Pro tip: people may resist your boundaries at first, but hold your ground. If they walk away because you set a boundary, they were never truly respectful of you in the first place. 3. Don't engage in power struggles. Some people thrive on drama, control, or provoking reactions. If someone is intentionally trying to provoke or manipulate you, don't take the bait. Instead of getting pulled into an emotional back and forth, practice detachment. If someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, don't react emotionally. Just let it sit in silence. If someone tries to argue over a minor issue, simply say, "I see we have different perspectives, that's okay." If someone spreads negativity, respond with neutrality. "I hear what you're saying," and then change the subject. Why it works. It prevents escalation. You refuse to fuel the fire. It frustrates difficult people who seek reaction, causing them to back off. It protects your mental energy by not engaging in unnecessary battles. 4. Know when to walk away. Some difficult people are not worth your energy. If someone is constantly negative, manipulative, or toxic and refuses to change, your best option may be to step away entirely. At work, limit interactions to what is necessary. With friends, reduce your time with them. With family, set emotional and physical boundaries. Not everyone deserves your energy. Sometimes the most powerful response is choosing not to engage at all. Pro tip: if you can't remove them from your life completely, emotionally detach. Stop expecting them to be different. Accept them as they are.
But don't let their negativity control your peace. Conclusion: your power lies in your response. Difficult people may never change, but you can control how you respond to them. Don't take their behavior personally. It's about them, not you. Respond with curiosity, not conflict. Disarm them with thoughtful questions. Set firm boundaries. Teach people how to treat you. Avoid power struggles. Don't waste energy on unnecessary battles. Know when to walk away. Not everyone deserves your emotional energy. By mastering these skills, you take back your power. Instead of feeling frustrated, exhausted, or triggered, you remain calm, in control, and unshaken. As we wrap up this journey through Think Faster, Talk Smarter, remember, communication isn't just about speaking, it's about strategy, awareness, and courage. Mastering your mind under pressure gives you the ability to think on your feet. Using silence strategically makes you more persuasive. Navigating difficult conversations with grace gives you power over any situation. But don't let this knowledge just sit here. Apply it. Next time you feel pressured, take a pause before speaking. Pay attention to your body language. It speaks louder than your words. When faced with a difficult person, stay calm, stay curious, and stand firm. These small steps build your confidence and sharpen your ability to communicate like a pro. If you found these insights valuable, share this with others, leave a comment, and check out more of our content for practical wisdom to elevate your life. And remember, mastering communication isn't just about talking. It's about thinking smarter, living smarter, and handling every conversation with intelligence and grace. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe Book Navigator.